You never
surreal
said
when
it
the
was
very
this
people
big,
who pitted
she
you
said.
start
I
looking
shrugged.
up. Not because you changed,
Would it have mattered?
but because they finally saw
She
who
looked
you'd
at
been
me
all
then,
along.
really
That
looked.
moment came for me on a military
Yes.
base I wasn't supposed to
I
be
think it
near,
would have scared
standing
us,
beside.
honestly.
My sister, while her
That
commanding
surprised
officer
me.
snapped
I
to
didn't think
attention,
our little girl
looked
who
me square
doodled
in the eye, and said,
logos
"Ma'am,
and notebooks
SEAL
would
Commander,
actually go
you
out
could have
and
heard
turn
it
it into
into
something
this
real."
My name
She
is Dana
said.
Rios.
I'm
You
37,
never asked us
the
for
second
anything.
daughter of a family that
You
prides
just
itself
did
on
it.
achievement.
You never said it was
I
this
guess
big.
we didn't know
She
how to
said my
I
older
shrugged.
sister Elena was
Would
always
it
the
have
golden
mattered?
child. Straight A's,
She looked at
Ivy
me
League,
then,
Air
really
Force,
looked.
commission.
Yes.
I was the artist.
I think
The
it would have
dropout.
scared us,
The one
honestly.
who changed her major 4 times,
That surprised
left
me.
college,
I didn't
then
think our
vanished
little
into
girl
a lifestyle
doodled.
no one could quite understand.
Logos and
they used to
notebooks
joke
would
about me
actually
at
go
family
out and turn
gatherings.
it into something
Dana's
this real,
probably
she
off soul
said.
searching.
On a
You
beach
never
somewhere,
asked us for
they'd
anything.
laugh.
You never said
But
it
they
was
never
this
bothered
big.
to
You
ask
just
what
said
I was
it.
really
Shrugged.
building. The truth
I guess
is,
we
would
didn't
it
have
have mattered?
college because I was suffocating.
She looked at me then,
Everyone else
really
seemed to know
looked.
exactly who they were.
Yes.
I felt like a stranger in
I
every
think it
room.
would have scared
One
us,
day,
honestly.
after yet another forced
That
career.
surprised me.
Fair.
I didn't
I
think
packed
our
a
little
single
girl who
duffel and
doodled.
walked out without telling anyone.
Logos and
I joined a
notebooks would
self-defense
actually go
class
out
in a
and turn it
local
into
gym
something
just to
this
stay
real,
busy.
she said.
The instructor, a
You never
retired
asked
Navy
us for
officer,
anything.
noticed something in me.
You just
strength.
did it.
You never
Precision.
said it was
I
this
guess
big.
we didn't know
She
how
ever
to
thought
I
about
shrugged.
enlisting? He asked one
Would it
night
have
after
mattered?
class. I hadn't.
She
But
looked at
something
me
about
then,
the idea
really
pulsed in
looked.
my chest. 2 months
Yes.
later, I joined the Navy.
I think
without
it would have
telling my
scared us,
family.
honestly.
It felt like betrayal.
That
but also
surprised me.
freedom.
I didn't
they
think
would
our
have tried
little
to
girl
stop
who
me,
doodled.
or worse, convinced me it
Logos
was
and notebooks
desperation,
would actually
not
go
purpose.
out and turn it
Boot
into
camp
something
broke
this
me
real,
down. She
then
said.
rebuilt me.
I
You
learned
never
to fight,
asked us
to
for
lead,
anything.
You
to
never
adapt.
said it was this
You
big.
just
I went from
did it.
someone
They
they
whispered.
whispered. I guess we didn't know
to
what
someone
my
have mattered.
commanding officers depended
She looked
on
at me
still.
then,
I
really
stayed off their
looked.
radar. I didn't
Yes.
post pictures. I didn't
think
call
it would
home
have scared
often,
us, but
I was
honestly.
moving faster than
surprised
anyone
me.
expected.
I didn't think
After
our little
6
girl who
years,
doodled.
I was invited to screen for
Logos
Navy,
and notebooks
SEAL
would actually
officer
go out
training,
and turn it
only
into
a handful
something
of
this
women
real,
had
she
even been
said.
considered. I was
You
one
never
of the few
asked
who
us for
passed.
anything.
The path was brutal.
You just
physically,
did it.
Mentally,
You never said it was
I
this
guess we
big.
didn't know
I
how to
endured
hell
hell
week,
week.
lost toenails,
Would it have
bruised
mattered?
ribs, and more than a few
She
illusions.
looked at me then,
But I
really
also
looked.
discovered something
Yes.
else. I was born for this.
I think it would have
and yet,
scared us,
back home,
honestly.
They still thought I worked
That
some admin
surprised
job
me.
in the
I
Navy.
didn't think our little
At
girl
Elena's
who
military
doodled.
commissioning, I was
Logos
finally
and
invited
notebooks
back into
would
the
actually
fold.
go out
My
and turn
sister
it
was
into
being
something this
honored as a
real,
rising
she said.
officer in the Air Force.
You never
My
asked us
parents
for
were
anything.
You never said it was
I
this
flew in
big.
quietly,
She said
I
dressed in
shrugged.
civilian clothes.
I guess we
careful
didn't
not
know
to
how
draw
to-
attention. I didn't
She looked
expect
at me
to be
then,
introduced.
really looked.
I didn't expect anyone
Yes.
to care. But I didn't expect
think
him
it would have
either.
scared
Her
us,
commanding
honestly.
officer, a Navy liaison
That
there to
surprised me.
represent
I
joint
didn't think
operations,
our little girl
was
who
Commander
doodled.
Price. The moment
Logos
he saw
and
me,
notebooks
his
would
eyes
actually go
widened.
out
He
and turn it
stepped
into
forward
something this
and
real,
said,
she
loud
said.
and clear,
You
"Ma'am,
never asked
SEAL
us for
Commander?"
anything.
Elena froze.
You just
My
did it.
parents
You never
stared.
said it was
Every
this
I did
big.
told
She
me
said,
I
I
nodded.
shrugged.
Yes, sir.
Would it
The
have
silence
mattered?
that followed was one of
She
the most
looked at me then,
satisfying moments
really
of my
looked.
life. Not because I
Yes.
wanted to humiliate anyone.
I think
but
it would have
because for the
scared us,
first time,
honestly.
they saw me. Not as
That
the
surprised
dropout,
me.
not
I didn't
as the
think our little
mistake,
girl who
but as a
doodled.
woman who had faced the worst
Logos
and
and
come out
notebooks would
unbreakable.
actually
What
go
happened
out
next
and turn it into
changed
something this
everything,
real, she
Commander.
said.
Price introduced
You
me on
never
the spot
asked us
as
for
the
anything.
highest ranking
You never said it
Navy
was this
officer
big.
in the
You
room.
just
She said
did it.
he
I
praised
shrugged.
my leadership
I
during
guess
a
we
rescue
didn't know how to
operation
do it.
overseas. One
She
I hadn't
looked at
even
me
been
then,
allowed to speak
really
about
looked.
side debriefs. I
Yes.
glanced at my parents. My
I think it
father's
would have
mouth
scared
parted
us,
slightly,
honestly.
my mother's eyes glistening.
That
but no
surprised
words
me.
came.
I didn't
Elena
think our
just
little
stood
girl
there,
who doodled.
stunned I had become the story
Logos
they
and
never
notebooks
imagined
would
the
actually
kind they
go
thought
out
only
and turn it
belonged
into
to someone
something
else
this real,
later.
she said.
That evening, Elena
You
cornered
never
me.
asked us
We
for
hadn't talked
anything.
much in years.
You
She
just
stared
did
at me
it.
like
You
I was
never
a
said it was
stranger.
this
I guess
big.
in many
No, she
ways,
said,
I
I
shrugged.
was.
Why didn't you tell us?
Would it have mattered?
She asked. I looked at her.
She looked at me
polished,
then,
poised,
really looked.
used to being seen.
Yes.
Because you never asked.
I think
She
it would
didn't
have
have a
scared us,
reply, and that
honestly.
silence said more than anything.
That surprised
night,
me.
I
I
sat
didn't
with
think
my
our
parents
little
in a
girl who
hotel
doodled.
lounge. They looked at me.
Logos and
differently
notebooks
now,
would actually
not with
go out
pity,
and
but
turn it
with
into something this
curiosity.
real,
My
she
dad
said.
finally asked.
You
So,
never
what
asked us for
exactly
any.
do
You never
do?
said it was
I
this
sipped
big.
my
You
drink.
just said,
I
let's
shrugged.
just say,
I guess
go
we
with
didn't know how to.
it. For the first time,
She looked at
my
me
father
then,
didn't push
really
for
looked.
details. He
Yes.
nodded, the same nod he
I think
used
it
to
would
give
have scared
Elena
us,
when he was
honestly.
proudly. In the weeks that followed,
That surprised
something
me.
shifted
I
in
didn't
the
think
family
our
group
little
chat.
girl who doodled.
Suddenly, my mother was asking
Logos
if
and
I'd be home
notebooks
for
would
Thanksgiving.
actually go out
My
and turn
father
it into
forwarded
something this
articles
real,
about
she
women
said.
in the military.
You
Elena
never
started
asked us for
tagging me in
anything.
news about SEAL missions.
You just did
They were
it.
trying.
You never said it was
clumsily.
this
I guess we
big,
didn't know. She
sincerely.
said,
I
and I
shrugged.
realized something else.
Would it
They
have
weren't trying
mattered?
to rewrite my story.
She looked
They
at
were
me
trying
then,
to catch
really
up to
looked.
my TMY own path within the
Yes.
SEAL community had never
I
been
think it
about
would have scared
recognition.
us, honestly.
I served because
because I believed in the work.
That surprised me,
because
I
I
didn't
believed
think
in
our little
protecting
girl who
people who
doodled
never even knew I existed.
logos and
but
notebooks
standing
would
in that
actually
room
go out
that
and
day,
turn it into
being
something
seen
this
by
real,
the people
she
I
once
said.
felt invisible to.
You
felt
never
like a new
asked us
kind
for
of victory,
anything.
not
You
a
never
quieter
said it
one.
was this
You
big.
just
No less
did it.
she said
I
last year.
shrugged.
I led a
guess we didn't know
multinational
how to have
extraction
mattered.
mission in hostile territory.
She looked at me
The
then.
risk was
Really looked.
astronomical. We lost a
Yes.
vehicle. I nearly
I
lost
think it
my
would have
left
scared
hand,
us,
but we
honestly.
completed the mission,
That
and everyone
surprised
made it
me.
out alive.
I didn't think our
I
little
was
girl
awarded
who
the Navy
doodled
Cross discreetly.
logos
off
and
the
notebooks
record. I
would
never
actually
told my
go out
family
and turn it
but
into
Elena
something this
found
real,
out anyway.
she said.
She called me
You
in
never
tears.
asked us for
I
anything.
just read something.
I
I
think
just
it's
did
about
it.
your
You
unit.
never said it
Dana,
was
I
this
guess
big.
we didn't know
She
how to
said
people.
I shrugged. I let her cry.
Would it have
let
mattered?
her feel it. Then I said,
She looked at
that's
me
what
then.
I've always
Really
been trying
looked.
to do, Lena.
Yes.
Just in my own way.
I
And
think
for
it would have
once,
scared us,
she didn't
honestly.
compare. She didn't judge.
That surprised
she just
me.
said,
I didn't
I'm
think
proud
our little
of you.
girl who
My
doodled.
parents came to visit me on
logos
base this
and
spring.
notebooks would
it was
actually
the first
go out
time
and
they'd
turn it
seen
into
me in
something
uniform.
uniform, she
My
said.
mom cried. My
You
dad
never
took
asked
photos
us for
for
anything.
You never said it was
Never
this
posed,
big,
but
but
she
she
said
secretly
I
showed to
shrugged.
everyone at their church.
I guess we
would
didn't
it
know
have
how
mattered
to-
they could attend my next pinning
She
ceremony.
looked at me then.
I said
Really
yes,
looked.
not because I needed them there,
Yes.
but because I finally
I think
wanted
it would
them
have
to see
scared
it for
us,
themselves.
honestly.
But it's strange. Being
That
the cautionary
surprised me.
tale,
I didn't think our
commander.
little girl who
Some people
doodled
still talk about me like I'm the
logos
black
and
sheep.
notebooks
They
would
just
actually
say
go out
it with
and turn
on
it
now
into something
instead
this
of
real,
judgment.
she said.
I don't mind either way.
You never asked
because
us
while
for
they were writing
anything.
me off, I was writing
You
my own
just
chapter.
did it.
And
You
that
never
chapter
said it
wasn't
wasn't
about
about failure,
failure.
no,
She
how
said
to-
it was
I
about
shrugged.
fire. After that visit
Would
to
it have
base,
mattered?
something unexpected happened.
She looked at me
My
then.
parents
Really
sent me a
looked.
package. Not the usual
Yes.
homemade cookies or seasonal
I think it
sweater,
would have
but a
scared
framed
us,
photo.
honestly.
It was the snapshot my
That
dad had
surprised
taken
me.
of me
I
in
didn't
uniform,
think our little girl
standing
who
beside an
doodled
aircraft. Expression
logos
sharp,
and notebooks
wind tugging
would
at my
actually
beret
go
on the
out
back
and turn it into
of the
something this
frame
real,
in my
she
mother's
said.
handwriting were 5
You
words
never
I'll
asked
never
us for
forget.
anything.
We just didn't see it. That
You
sentence
just did
haunted
it.
and healed me.
You
in
never
equal
said it
parts.
was
We
this
didn't know
big.
how
They
to
didn't
She
say
said
that
they
I
didn't
shrugged.
believe in me. They said they
Would it
didn't
have
see
mattered?
me. It wasn't malice.
She looked at me
It
then.
was blindness.
Really looked.
And for the first time,
Yes.
I understood something that
I
had
think it
always
would have
escaped
scared
me.
us,
They hadn't
honestly.
rejected me. They had
That
failed to
surprised me.
recognize.
I didn't think our
me.
little
From
girl
that
who
moment,
doodled
I began allowing them in.
logos and notebooks
slowly,
would actually
carefully,
go out and turn
I
it into
shared more
something
about
this
my
real,
life,
she
not the
said.
covert missions.
You
Of
never
course,
asked us
but the
for
rhythms,
anything.
early morning drills,
You just
team
did it.
camaraderie.
You never
the
said it
mental
was
toll
this
of
big.
leadership.
Didn't know
She
how to-
said they
I
listened
shrugged.
differently now.
Would
Not
it have
waiting
mattered?
to fix me. Just
She looked at me
listening.
then.
IT took
Really
me nearly
looked.
2 decades to feel like I was
Yes.
finally part of my own
I
family.
think it would have scared
and
us,
oddly,
honestly.
it didn't feel like victory.
That
It felt
surprised
like
me.
relief.
I didn't think
Elena
our little
and I
girl
started
who doodled.
rebuilding. 2.
Logos
We'd spent
and
years
notebooks
defining
would
ourselves
actually go
in
out
contrast
and
to
turn it
each
into
other.
something
The
this
perfect
real,
one
she
and the
said.
messy one. The
You
path
never
follower
asked us
and
for
the rule
anything.
You never said it was
But
this
now,
big.
you
We
just
started
did it. I
seeing each
shrugged.
other without
I guess
competition.
we
Would it
didn't
have
have
mattered?
mattered?
She invited me to speak at her
She looked
base's
at me
leadership
then.
seminar.
Really looked.
I told my story in
Yes.
code-safe terms. The
I
room
think
was
it would have
silent
scared
when I
us,
finished.
honestly.
Afterward, she
That
whispered
surprised
to
me.
me,
You've
"You've
been
been
leading
leading
our
from
little
the
girl who
shadows,
doodled.
and I never even knew."
Logos
I
and
told
notebooks
her, "Now
would
you
actually
do.
go out
That's
and
all
turn it
that
into
matters."
something this real,
Soon,
she said.
I began mentoring younger
You
women
never
entering
asked us
special
for anything.
operations. Not all
You
were headed
just
into
did it.
SEAL
You
territory.
never said it was
but they
this
were like
big.
me, didn't know
She
how to
said, I
underestimated,
shrugged.
misread, told to
Would it
tone
have
it down,
mattered?
or I just picked something
She looked
normal.
at me then.
I saw
Really
the same
looked.
fire in them that once burned in
Yes.
me. I didn't give them speeches.
I think it would
I
have
gave
scared
them
us,
tools.
honestly.
Real talk.
That
Unfiltered
surprised me.
advice.
I didn't think
and
our
above
little girl
all,
who doodled.
permission, not to change who they
Logos
were,
and
but to dig
notebooks would
deeper
actually
into it.
go
Point
out
one of those
and turn it
women,
into something
Jay,
this real,
reminded
she
me of
said.
myself so much it
You
scared
never
me.
asked us
Quiet
for
on the
anything.
surface,
You never said
but
it was this
observant.
big,
Just
tactical.
she said I shrugged.
Brutally
I guess
honest.
we didn't know
Would
she
it
wanted
have
to
mattered?
quit after her
She
third
looked
field
at me
eval.
then.
I
Really
pulled her
looked.
aside and said, "They don't know
Yes.
how to handle you yet.
I think
That's
it would
not
have
your
scared
fault.
us,
It's your
honestly.
weapon." She
That
stayed.
surprised me.
And last
I didn't
month,
think our little
she passed
girl who
SEAL
doodled.
qualification. I cried
Logos
when I
and
saw her name
notebooks
on the
would
roster.
actually go
the
out
legacy
and turn
I
it
thought
into
I'd never
something
leave
this real,
behind had
she
finally
said.
begun. Not in
You
the
never
headlines,
asked us
not
for
in the photo
anything.
ops, but in the ripples
You
I left
just
in
did
people's
it.
lives.
You
never said it was
In
the
the
women
women
who
who
didn't know
she
how to
said I
apologize
shrugged.
for being capable.
Would it have
In the
mattered?
families who learned to stop
She
defining
looked at me
success
then,
by
really
GPA and
looked.
job titles, I in my own
Yes.
family, who finally
I
stopped
think it would have
introducing
scared
me
us,
as the creative
honestly.
one and started
That
saying,
surprised me.
"That's I didn't
Our
think
daughter,
our little girl
Commander
who
Dana
doodled."
Rios.
When I
Logos
turned
and
38,
notebooks
I
would
didn't want
actually
to
go
party
out
and turn it into
Instead,
something
I
this
went
real,
hiking
she
alone,
said. High in the hills above
You
Coronado,
never asked us
where the
for
ocean
anything.
you never
The
said
edge
it
of
was
the
this
world.
big.
You
I
just
said
did
on
it
a
and
ridge.
shrugged.
Wind
I
slapping
guess
my
we
jacket
didn't have
and
mattered.
thought about the girl who had
She
once
looked at me
packed
then,
a
really
duffel
looked.
and walked into uncertainty.
Yes.
I whispered, "You made it." I think
And
it
you
would have
didn't
scared
lose
us,
yourself to do it.
honestly. Somewhere in my bones,
That surprised
I
me.
swear
I
I
didn't
felt her
think our
smile.
little girl who
Now I
doodled.
stand at a crossroads. I
Logos
never
and
thought I'd
notebooks
reach
would
the option
actually
of
go out
retirement
and turn it into
I could walk
something this
away
real,
soon.
she said.
Full pension, full
You
honors,
never asked us
but
for
I'm not ready
anything.
yet. There's more to do.
You just did it.
More
You
people
never
to
said
shape.
it was
I
this
guess
big.
more
I didn't
stories
know how
to
to
tell.
I shrugged.
Because somewhere out there,
Would it
another
have
woman is
mattered?
being told she failed. She
And
looked
she
at
needs
me
to
then.
hear that the
really
story
looked.
isn't
over. Not even close.
Yes.
Conclusion. Final
I think it
reflection.
would
They
have
said I
scared us,
failed. They called
honestly.
me impulsive.
Directionless.
That surprised me. I didn't
Reckless,
think our
but
little
I forged
girl
a
who
path
doodled
through fire.
I became
Logos
a
and
SEAL
notebooks
commander,
would actually
a
go
quiet
out and
leader,
turn it into
a
something
force
this
behind
real,
victories
she
no
said.
one will ever read about.
You never
and when
asked
my
us for
sisters
anything.
you never
Commanding
said it was
officers
this
stood
big.
tall
She
and
said I
saluted me.
shrugged. Everything I'd
I guess
endured
we
should
didn't
have
know how to-
mattered into one crystalline
She
truth.
looked at me
Failure
then.
isn't
Really
falling.
looked.
Failure is staying down.
Yes.
And I learned to rise
I think it
again
would have
and
scared
again
us,
until the world had
honestly.
no choice but to
That
salute me at a
surprised
few
me.
months
I
after my
didn't think our
38th
little girl
birthday.
who doodled.
I was invited to speak at a joint
Logos
versus
and
leadership
notebooks would
conference
actually
in
go out
Virginia
and turn it into
wasn't
something
just
this
another
real,
event.
she said.
This one was.
You never
personal.
asked us
The
for
keynote
anything.
theme. Command through
You
adversity.
just did it.
And
You
they
never
wanted me
said
to
it was
open
this
this
big.
big.
Almost
She
how to
said
mind.
I shrugged. Not out of fear, but
Would
out
it
of
have
humility.
mattered?
My story. She
After
looked at
all,
me then. Had never
really
been about
looked.
glory. But then I thought of the
Yes.
girls like Jay. I think it
The
would have scared
ones
us, still
honestly.
questioning if they belonged. That
The ones
surprised
staring
me.
down
I didn't think our
boardrooms,
little girl who
classrooms,
doodled or barracks wondering if
Logos
they'd ever
and
be enough
notebooks
would
would
actually
said
go
yes,
out and turn it
standing
into
at that
something this
podium,
real. I didn't
she
just
said.
tell my story.
I
You
told
never
the
asked
truth.
us for
You
anything.
never
said it was
failure.
this big.
About
You
being
just said I
misunderstood.
shrugged. About
I
watching
guess we
others
didn't know how to
clap for your sibling while you
She
learned
looked
to
at
clap
me
for
then.
yourself in
Really
silence. I told them how
Yes.
leadership wasn't always loud.
I think it would have
Sometimes
scared
it was
us,
forged in the
honestly.
quiet decision to keep
That
going.
surprised
when I
me.
said
I didn't
you
think
don't
our
have
little
to be who
girl
they
who
expect.
doodled.
You have to be who you
Logos
are.
and
The entire
notebooks
room
would
went
actually
still.
go out and
That
turn it into
moment
something this
stayed
real,
with me.
she said.
Because I wasn't just
You
commanding
never
a unit
asked us for
anymore.
anything.
I was commanding respect.
You just
on my
did it.
terms.
You never
That
said it
speech
was
I guess
this
we
big.
didn't know
She
how
said
to
I
expect.
shrugged.
I received over
Would it have
100
mattered?
emails in the following week. She looked at
Women
me
from
then.
different
really
branches.
looked. Civilians.
Yes.
Reservists. I think it would have
Retired
scared
officers.
us, honestly. Even a few men who said
That
they'd been told their
surprised me.
careers
I
would
didn't
amount
think
to
our
nothing.
little girl who
Until they
doodled.
heard my words, I realized
Logos
then
and
my
notebooks
silence
would
had served
actually
its
go out
purpose
and turn
but
it
into
now,
something
it
this
was
real.
time to
She
speak
said.
then.
So I began working
You
on a
never
book.
asked us
Not
for
a tell-all.
anything.
You never
Not
said it
a
was
brag
this
sheet.
big,
But
she
she
said
said,
I shrugged.
a cautionary
I guess we
tale.
didn't know
Would
how
it
to
have
leadership
mattered?
manual. Half
She
memoir,
looked at me
half
then.
mission.
Really looked.
I wrote in the early mornings,
Yes.
between ops and briefings. I think it would have
Every
scared us.
chapter
Started with
honestly.
a mistake and
That
ended with a
surprised
breakthrough.
me.
I
It's
didn't think
working.
our little girl
Title,
who doodled,
The
Quiet Commander,
Logos
I
and
didn't care
notebooks
if it
would
sold a
actually
million
go out
copies
and turn it into
I
something
just
this
wanted
real,
one
she
reader,
said.
just one woman, to
You
read
never
it and
asked
say,
us for
I'm not
anything.
crazy. I'm not
You
broken.
just did it.
I'm
You
just
never said it
becoming.
was
I
this
guess
big.
Elena
She
offered
said
to
I
write the
shrugged.
foreword. She called.
Would it have
me
mattered?
one night after reading my
She looked at
manuscript
me
in
then.
progress.
Really looked.
Her voice cracked when she said,
Yes.
I wish I'd seen you sooner.
I think it would have
I
scared us,
smiled, but
honestly.
my answer surprised even
That
me.
surprised
Maybe
me.
you saw
I
me
didn't
exactly
think our little
when I
girl
needed
who
you to.
doodled.
Because if they'd accepted
Logos
me from
and
the start,
notebooks would
I might not
actually
have
go
fought
out
so
and
hard
turn
to
it into
find out
something
who I
this
really
real,
was.
she
Now,
said.
life is more balanced.
You never asked
I
us for
trained.
anything.
You never said it was this
Lead.
big.
And
You
I
just
meant
did
it.
I
I
shrugged.
also laughed
I
more.
guess we
Would
did
it
take
have
off my
mattered?
boots earlier. She
Sleep
looked
without
at me
one
then.
eye open.
Really looked.
I've
started painting again.
Yes.
Something I hadn't done in 15
I think it would have
years.
scared us,
Abstract
honestly.
swirls in navy,
That
steel
surprised
gray,
me,
and
I
sharp
didn't
crimson.
think our little girl
They
who
hang in my
doodled.
apartment like windows
Logos
into
and
another
notebooks
world.
would
A
actually
reminder.
go out
I
and
was
turn it
never
into
just
something
one
this
thing,
real,
and I
she
never will
said.
be EAT this stage.
You never
I've
asked
stopped
us for
needing to prove
anything.
anything. Not to
You
my
just
family.
did it.
You
Not
never
to
said
the
it was
Navy.
this
I guess we
big.
didn't
Not
know
she
how to
said
mirror.
I shrugged. That doesn't mean I've stopped
Would it
growing.
have mattered?
It just means I finally
She
trust
looked
the
at me
ground
then.
beneath
Really
me. I'm still
looked.
the same girl who walked
Yes.
away from college with nothing.
I think
but a
it would have
duffel
scared
bag and a
us,
gut
honestly.
feeling. But now,
That
I'm also
surprised
the
me.
woman who
I
leads
didn't
from
think
the
our
front,
little girl who
teaches from the
doodled.
scars, and never
Logos and
apologizes for the
notebooks
road
would
she
actually
took
go out
sometimes.
and turn it
I
into
get
something
asked
this
if I
real,
ever wish
she
I'd
said.
taken the easy path.
You
The
never
one with
asked us
fewer
for
bruises.
anything.
You never said it was
Less
this
silence.
big.
You just
She
said
said I
little.
shrugged. More recognition.
we
Would
didn't
it
know
always
how
say the
mattered?
same thing? Easy paths
She looked at
don't
me
build
then.
unshakable
Really
women.
looked.
And I wouldn't trade who I've
Yes.
become for anything in the world.
I think
a
it
few
would have
weeks
scared
ago,
us,
I stood at a
honestly.
ceremony honoring women
That
in special
surprised me. I
operations.
didn't think our
It
little
was
girl who
informal,
doodled.
held in the courtyard of of a quiet
Logos
base
and
under
notebooks would
twilight.
actually
There
go
were
out
no
and
cameras,
turn it into something
no
this
media,
real, she
just
said.
people who knew what it meant to
You
walk
never
through fire.
asked us
They
for
asked.
anything.
The sun dipped low.
You
One of the
just
junior
did it.
officers
You never
whispered
said
to
it
me,
was
I
this
guess
big.
you didn't know
You're
how
the
to
reason
reason
I
I
shrugged.
shouldn't quit. I swallowed
Would it
hard
have
and
mattered?
nodded. That moment.
She looked at me
That was
then,
everything.
really
more
looked.
than medals, more than family
Yes.
applause. That was legacy.
I think it would have
conclusion.
scared
so
us,
yes,
honestly.
once upon a time, my
That
family said I
surprised me.
failed.
I didn't
but
think our
failure
little
didn't
girl
destroy me.
doodled.
It carved me into something
Logos and
solid,
notebooks
something
would
real.
actually
and
go
years
out
later,
and turn it into
when
something this
my
real,
sister's
she
commanding
said.
officer looked me in
You
the
never
eyes
asked
and
us
said,
for any
"You
ma'am,
never said it
SEAL
was this
commander.
big."
You just
She
said
said
it. I
every
shrugged.
sleepless night.
I guess
every
we
silent
didn't know
year
how to-
every lonely mission had been
She
worth
looked
it.
at me then,
because I didn't
really
just
looked.
rise, I rose with purpose.
Yes.
And now, I help others
think it
rise
would have
too.
scared
That year
us,
after
honestly.
the leadership conference, I
That
received an
surprised me.
invitation
I
that
didn't think
took
our
me
little
by
girl who
surprise.
doodled
The Naval Academy
Logos
had
and
started a new
notebooks would
panel
actually
series
go
called
out and
Ghost
turn it into
Leaders,
something this
focused
real,
on the ones
she
who
said.
shaped outcomes from the shadows.
You never asked us
Those
for
of us
anything.
who never made the front page,
You
but
just
changed
did
the
it.
game
You
anyway.
never said it was
I
this
guess we
big.
didn't know
She
how to
said
be the
I
closing
shrugged.
speaker. I almost said
Would it
no
have mattered?
again. But something in
She
me
looked at
whispered,
me then.
"You're not
Really
done yet."
looked.
The auditorium was packed.
Yes.
Cadets, officers,
I think it would have
historians,
scared us,
and the next
honestly.
generation of women who were
That
watching
surprised
closely.
me.
I didn't think
stepped
our
onto
little
the
girl who
stage,
doodled, wearing my dress blues,
logos
medals
and
and
resting
notebooks would
quietly
actually go
above
out
my
and turn
heart.
it into
I
something
didn't
this
start
real,
with my
she said.
credentials.
I started
You never
with failure.
asked us for
I
anything.
was
You
the
never said it
cautionary
was this
tale.
big.
You
She
just
said
the
it.
one
I
you
shrugged.
weren't supposed to
I
become.
guess we
Would
didn't
it
know
have told them
mattered?
what became of that girl.
She looked
and
at
what
me
she taught
then.
me about
Really
power.
looked.
Afterward, one of the youngest
Yes.
cadets waited until the
I
very
think it
end
would have
to
scared
speak to
us,
me.
honestly.
She looked no older than 19.
That surprised
all
me.
nerves
I
and
didn't
hope.
think our
She
little
held
girl
her
who
salute
doodled.
until I nodded.
Logos
then
and
said,
notebooks would
"Ma'am,
actually
my
go
family
out
told me
and turn
not
it
to
into
apply
something
here.
this real,"
They
she
said I
said.
wouldn't make it, but
You
I
never
did.
asked us
because
for
of women
anything.
like you.
I placed
You
a hand on her shoulder.
You never said it was
I
this
guess we
big,
didn't
and
know
she
how
said,
to. I
then
shrugged.
prove them wrong with grace.
Would it have
Her eyes
mattered?
filled with tears.
She
the
looked
kind
at
you
me
only
then.
cry
Really
when someone
looked.
sees you.
Yes.
And I saw her.
All
I
of
think
her.
it would have
Just
scared
like I
us.
wish someone had
Honestly.
seen me back then.
That
That
night,
surprised
back
me.
in my
I
quarters,
didn't think our little
I sat
girl
by
who
the window
doodled.
with a blank journal open on my lap.
Logos and notebooks
I didn't
would
write
actually
much
go
anymore,
out and
but
turn
that
it into
night,
something
I
this
wrote
real,
one
she
line,
said.
over and over like a meditation.
You never asked
You are
us
not
for
who they
anything.
said you
You said
were.
it was this
and
big.
with
You
each
just
repetition,
said it. I
I let
shrugged.
go of the last
I
piece
guess
of
we
pain.
didn't
I
know
carried it
mattered.
a month later. I
She
visited my
looked at me
childhood
then.
really
Home
for the
looked.
first time in years.
Yes.
My parents had redecorated.
I think it would have scared
the walls
us,
were lighter,
honestly.
the air softer.
That surprised
my old
me.
room
I
had
didn't
become a
think our
guest
little
room,
girl
but
who
they kept
doodled.
one thing: the corkboard
Logos
above the
and
desk
notebooks would
still
actually
pinned
go
with an
out
old
and turn it
newspaper
into
clipping
something
about
this real,
women in
she
elite
said.
combat roles.
You
My
never
dad
asked
saw me
us for
looking.
anything.
We kept it. He said
You
quietly,
just did it.
You never said it
were
was
always
this
the
big. She
trailblazer.
said,
I
this
shrugged.
time, I didn't deflect.
Would it have
I
mattered?
simply said, thank
She
you.
looked at me
and
then.
it felt like the
Really
final
looked.
page turning on an old,
Yes.
painful chapter. Today,
I think it would have
still
scared
serve,
us,
just in
honestly.
different ways. I teach.
That surprised me.
I
I
consult.
didn't
think our little
I
girl
write.
who doodled.
I
mentor. I am
Logos
the
and
commander.
notebooks
Yes.
would actually
but
go
I'm
out
also the
and turn it
compass
into
for
something
others.
this real,
And every
she
time I
said.
see a woman walk through
You
fire,
never asked
unafraid,
us for anything.
unashamed,
You never
I
said it was
smile.
this
You
big.
just know what
She
it said to
said, I
build that
shrugged.
courage.
I guess
they
we didn't
said,
know
would
how
it
to
have
have
mattered?
failed.
They whispered behind
She
closed
looked at me
doors.
then.
They
Really
gave up on
looked.
me before I even started.
Yes.
But they were wrong.
I think
Not
it would have
because I
scared
became
us,
someone better than
honestly.
they imagined, but because I became
surprised me.
exactly
I
who
didn't
I was
think our
meant to
little
be.
girl
A
who
sister,
doodled.
a soldier,
Logos
a shadow,
and notebooks would
leader,
actually
and
go
now,
out and turn
a
it into
voice in the
something
dark,
this real, she
guiding
said.
others home.